summer's almost over. And I can't think of a better movie to celebrate the end of summer with than The Kings of Summer. So The Kings of Summer is a movie about 3 teenage boys who are sick to death of living with their parents in a house where they have their own room, don't pay rent, and are regularly fed. I'm just kidding, but seriously. The movie stars these 3 teenage boys, including Joe, who is clearly the leader of the group. It's his idea to get his 2 best friends and say, let's run away from home and build our own house out in the woods. And he convinces his best friend Patrick to come along with him, as well as this other kid who just kind of follows them around, known as Biagio. Joe's dad is played by Nick Offerman, who you may know from Parks and Recreation. I love this guy. He's probably my favorite performance in the movie. He has so many funny bits where it's like completely a jerk thing to say, but at the same time it's wet yourself funny. And he plays this father figure as a guy who is frustrated and kind of just a miserable person, but he brings his own sense of humor to it. Patrick, on the other hand, his parents are more of the sitcom kind of awkward, just making him miserable, and that's just why he wants to get away. And then you have Biagio, who's just... I don't even know. And I was a little bit surprised by this because, you know, the kids are like, yeah, we're gonna run out in the woods and build our own house. And you're like, you kids are not gonna build a house. Maybe a tent. Maybe. But they actually do it. They actually build their own house, and it's pretty cool. Kind of unbelievable, but still pretty cool. And one thing I really like about the movie is that it does capture that spirit of, yeah, we're young and it's summer and no rules and no adults and Goonies never say die. It's a pretty simple story, but it's generally handled pretty well. And then there's some indie movie kind of Wes Anderson like whimsy kind of going on. And at first I was really into it. But as the movie goes on, those things start to make it feel a little bit unbalanced. Like, okay, what do you want to be? Do you want to be a fun comedy or do you want to be an indie quirky drama? It tries to be both, and it doesn't really succeed that well. But one thing I did really like was the cinematography, and it got that whole youthful, hanging out in the woods, really pretty feel to it. The beginning kind of pumps you up. It's like, yeah, what are we gonna do out here in the woods? And then not much really happens after that. I mean, I get that the point is that it's all about freedom and just kind of doing whatever you want, but at some point you just kind of, you want something else to happen. So they're out there in the forest and they're trying to hunt, even though they know nothing about wilderness survival or hunting. And I was enjoying a lot of the humor in the movie, and a lot of that has to do with Nick Offerman's character and the third weird kid, Biagio. Everything about this kid is strange to the point of absurdity. Like, he even sticks out of the movie because he is so unbelievably weird. But it's also the funniest stuff to the point where I was like, okay, I'm going to allow this. So apparently this actor got his start on Hannah Montana. I've never been curious to look up Hannah Montana clips before, but this kid kind of makes me want to... Okay, okay, I just watched the clip and it's not really funny, but please trust me when I say this kid is funny in this movie. And I'd even be tempted to say that if it weren't for this kid and for Nick Offerman's character, that the movie would probably be mostly forgettable. The main story is with Joe and his coming-of-age story, and, you know, it's relatable, and the relationship between him and his dad does work, but I thought that Joe himself just ultimately ended up being mostly pretty bland. So there's some really funny characters which make the movie watchable, but then there's some bland major characters that are kind of the, you know, the weight of the movie, and that doesn't really work that well. So I give the movie a B-. I think it's a pretty flawed film, but I think it makes up with it, with its humor and its just kind of general sense of fun. So with summer ending, you know what that means. Halloween. And I have something a little special planned for Halloween, so please check back next week. But for now, TTFN.
So, it was you all along, Mr. Whiskers.